Did you know that the watermelon and the pumpkin are cousins? And the sweet potato is a member of the morning glory family. And a close relative of the carrot, which is a crunchy, delicious snack, is called hemlock, and it's actually a poison that when you accidentally eat it, it causes loss of sight and convulsions and even death. So how do we tell them apart? Through botany. I'm Jean Adyr, and this is the Artful Planet.
We have made the most important discovery in the history of our world.
Botany is the study of plants. Which ones are helpful, which ones are harmful, which ones are tasty, which ones are best left uneaten, and so on. And humans have been in the botany game for a very long time. In fact, on Old Cherokee land, which is now the Tennessee River Valley in the United States, researchers have found remains that humans have been using the plants around them since before the pyramids of Egypt were built. That's over 10,000 years ago. And only 500 years ago, Luca Ghini, the physician and botanist, made one of the oldest surviving herbariums that we have today. That's a little book of pressed leaves and flowers that help him and his students remember which plant is what. Because there are over 391,000 plants on this planet, and you cannot possibly keep track of them all. So how do we keep these all organized? Well, thanks to a jolly Swedish man named Carl Linnaeus, we have a way. Born to a Lutheran minister in a small town in Sweden, whose name I will not attempt to pronounce, Carl Linnaeus expressed a deep love of plants from a very young age. His parents gave him a little spot in the family garden to grow whatever he wanted. And when he went off to school, the headmaster gave him run of the whole school garden after finding out that Carl was so interested in plants. After getting his PhD, Carl Linnaeus went on to write the book he is most famous for, Systema Naturae. First published in 1735 and written completely in Latin, Carl Linnaeus perfected what two botanist brothers started 200 years before him. That is, binomial nomenclature. That's the two-name system developed that all scientists all over the world use when describing certain plants, animals, fungus, and even bacteria. Too cool. So what you and I would simply just call a rose is actually a word to describe a whole garden full of different flowers. There's Rosa abyssinica, Rosa acicularis, Rosa alexandrae, Rosa alba, Rosa alpina, and I'm not even halfway through the A's. So how did they all get grouped together in the first place? Well, there are certain properties that scientists look at that they group those together, like how does the plant grow? Is it a tree, a shrub, a vine, an herb? What do the leaves look like? What do the flowers look like? How does the plant make more of itself? How does the flower turn into the seed? Is the seed all by itself or inside of a fruit? Is it in a bean pod? Do they not produce any fruit at all and they just kind of grow along the ground, producing roots wherever it goes? There are a lot of these kinds of details to consider when deciding which plant is related to what and how to group them together into families. That's why, along with Carl Linnaeus' binomial nomenclature, that's the two-name naming system, botanists all over the world make herbariums. So they don't have to just read the name of the plant, they can see the plant for themselves. Now, some botanists keep them in little books, and some just keep loose sheets and sheets of it so they can rearrange it however they want as they discover new plant species. But there's something just so delightful about looking at plants and flowers that are pressed and preserved, arranged artfully on a page that makes me want to hang it on my wall as decoration. So why don't we? Stick around and I'm going to show you how we can be both botanists and artists right here in our home. First, we're going to want to explore a little. So whether that's just exploring in your own backyard or taking a nature walk with your whole family, I'm sure you can find something to work with. But before we go, we're going to grab a basket or bucket or something to hold our specimens. That is, our objects of study. In this case, our objects of study are flowers and leaves. A few helpful rules when you go out collecting specimens. Rule number 1. Always have an adult accompany you whenever you go out to collect these specimens. Because like I said at the beginning of this show, some plants are poisonous, and not just when you eat them, they can even hurt your skin when you touch them. So make sure you always have someone around to help keep you safe. Rule number 2, don't take anything off of private property. Always ask permission. And if you see a sign that says no trespassing, don't walk past it. Rule number 3, do not take the last of anything. So if you're in the wild, that means you're not in your backyard or a public park, and you want to take a flower, look around and make sure there are a lot of other flowers that look exactly the same as that one. That way, you can make sure you're not taking the last one. Rule number 4, if you only want the leaf or the flower from a plant, don't take the whole thing, stem, roots, and all out of the ground. Just leave it the way it is and only take one piece of the plant you want. And rule number 5, always make notes as you go along. You can even take pictures of the plant and notes about where you found it and what it's called, so that when you bring all your specimens back home, you can remember which was which. When we've collected enough specimens, we can go ahead and take them home and begin the process of preserving them. That means making sure that they won't rot and they'll last a long time. And to do that, we have to take the water out of the plant. And to do that, we press.
When you've come back from your nature walk, you should have all sorts of different specimens with which to start working on your botanical prints. In order to preserve these samples, we're going to have to dry them. And in order to dry them, we're going to have to press them. So what you're going to do is you're going to grab some construction paper, preferably some that doesn't have any color on them. Manila paper works best. You're going to fold it in half, and you're going to begin to gently tuck these different samples into the paper. Alright, after I fold them in half, I'm going to begin to arrange these samples on the paper like so, making sure everything's flat, nothing's touching and overlapping. And you can close it and put it aside. I'm going to grab a different one and put some more in there. 1, 2. Remember to make sure to not overlap any of the details. And done. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to get some really heavy books. I'm talking about really thick, nice and heavy hardback books. Now, they do make official flower presses, but if you do not have any of that information, I'm showing you how to do it without all that fancy stuff. So, right at the end of the book, you're going to take your specimens and you're going to put them right in the end of the book. In order to make it really pushed down, you're going to stack more books on top, and more books on top, and more books on top. Then you wait. Give it at least 48 to 72 hours of pressing all of the moisture out from the bottom of the books. Now when you're ready, you're going to take the book slowly off. You're going to open it up to reveal. Here are some examples of plant specimens that I have already dried. You You can see that they're dry and very fragile. I've pressed all the water out of them. Now the only thing left to do is to display it artfully onto a paper. So the first thing you're going to need is a blank sheet of cardstock or watercolor paper. Again, it's going to be nice and thick. You're going to need some kind of glue, a jar of water, and an old paintbrush you don't mind getting messy. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to make some sort of paste using the glue bottle and the water. We don't want it to be 100% glue, so we're going to do a little bit of glue inside of the water. Once you stir it up, it should make a more watered down paste that will help something as fragile as a dried leaf adhere to a page. Then we can go ahead and use some of our samples and arrange them on a page however you like. So maybe I want this one here. Once you've decided what you're going to put where, then you take your paste and you brush it on underneath. Start to glue that specimen down to your paper. Now all you have to do is wait for your paste to dry. And while I'm waiting for this one to dry, I can get started on another page. Once I've decided this is how I arrange my page here, I can continue with my pasting. Remember to be very gentle with these because they're very fragile. Back, we'll be able to label them. Once your glue has completely dried, you can take a really nice marker or pen and write the names of all of the specimens that you collected.
I can't wait to see what kind of botanical art you make. So let's try this. Once you finish, snap a picture of your artwork and upload it to Instagram with the hashtag Artful Planet for a chance to be featured in my next video. I'm Jean Adyr, and I am so glad you stopped by. I hope you had as much fun as I did being little botanists and exploring our natural world. We learned about Carl Linnaeus and his two-name naming system, Binomial nomenclature, and we learned how botanists all over the world make their own herbariums. That is, the little books that contain all of the plants in their area. I hope you had fun making one too. Have a great week, and I cannot wait to see you next time on the Artful Planet. Like and subscribe if you feel the same way too. Bye-bye now!